Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Danger. We're back here. Got Dave. We wanted to update you, not just on geopolitics and all that. Like, first thing we're talking about real quick is we've been able to secure some of the instruction, the course material, and get things up running for the course. We've also got some really good guys on tap, basically, to help us do the instructor to student ratio, make sure that's all tapped in. We're going to be using some great guys that with their experience, Marine Special Operations, independent duty corpsmen. If you don't understand what independent duty corpsman is, they're basically almost a physician's assistant, if I'm correct.
That's right.
They're kind of like American Express. You never leave home without them. And they are, but they're kind of like CVs, same thing, right? Never go home, never leave home without them, right?
Right.
Like American Express.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got the training alignment. So the courses are going to be coming online pretty soon. And once they come up, you'll be able to sign up for them. And we'll give a brief course description of everything that's going to be included. But anyway, Dave, how you been?
Well, good, man. I mean, obviously we're focusing a lot on everything that's been going on and, trying to find out where everybody stands on everything. I think as confusing as things are in the world today and what's going on in our own country with gas prices skyrocketing, grocery stores with empty shelves. I think the writing's on the wall, and everybody's been saying the same thing. And I hope it's not too late to start with what we're trying to do here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Basically, for a lot of you out there, one of the things we want to highlight is everybody sees the controlled implosion of the U.S. economy, and then obviously the globe on a greater scale. A lot of this implosion is kind of self-inflicted. The refusal of the administration that's in office now of not opening up pipelines that will feed the economy of the United States. So it's not even just feeding the economy, but it's basically how it fits it in, right? It's the impact to you as a consumer, the impact to the trucking industry to be able to move things around. We're basically at a point where people are going to feel pain they've never felt, probably since, I would say, at least the Depression. There's things you need to be taking into effect, and basically take the action you need to take is get out there. If there's things you need to get them now, because the prices are not going to go down. They're actually skyrocketing right now. So we were talking about this. Metals, precious metals are getting ready to basically skyrocket. Gold's already gone from what, $1,250 to over $2,000. Silver's going up. Nickel's about to go up. What we're about to see is going to be one of those things that is going to hit you in the wallet. Your grocery bill is probably going to hit over $1,000 a month at a minimum. And then the question is, are you going to be able to make it to work, or is the job you're in able to have you sit at home and do what? And basically work off a computer.
Virtual.
And work virtual. So there's a lot of things that are going on right now that are it makes me very skeptical of where the country is going to go. I think eventually and Dave, maybe, I love your insight on this.
Sure.
I think once food prices hit a certain point, there's people at the lower pay scale, within the United States, that lower class of lower paid workers, maybe it's people that are just in the workforce, but they're not making that super amount of money. When you're making, say, $15 an hour, and then you're eventually going to be paying $6, a gallon, if not more. A lot of people are seeing this going up. It's just skyrocketing. So Dave, what's your take, with the food prices and where this could eventually lead with society itself if there's a societal collapse? Because people, once it gets to a point where they can't afford food, they're going to go and take it regardless.
Well, you remember a couple of podcasts ago, folks, we talked about the concept of threes, the 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. Within 72 hours of the American people, or in fact, any people in any society find out that there is a man-made catastrophe or a natural disaster that is imminent, people begin to panic. In 72 hours, pandemonium sets in. People are raiding the grocery stores. I don't mean like violently. I mean, this isn't like, World War Z or anything like that. I just mean people are buying up more than they would normally buy, causing grocery stores to have to limit the number of items that they allow off the shelves. Obviously, that's going to cause turmoil within the grocery stores, and people are going to yell at each other. Things are going to get testy. Obviously, the important thing to do is remain calm and have a sense of tactical patience. Your best bet is to not be in that situation when that starts to occur. You need to have grabbed up your canned goods, your dried goods, and the things that you can sustain your family off for a period of time while this all sits in. So after that 72 hours starts, where are people going? They're going to the interstate. They're going to the main arteries. They think that if they leave that area, they're going to be safe. But the fact of the matter is that they get packed in on the interstates.
Yes.
When the last hurricane hit Florida, I-75 was jam-packed at a gridlock dead standstill. Just this winter, you saw gridlock at a dead standstill in, I believe it was Virginia.
Yes.
Right? Wasn't it Fairfax County?
Yes.
All right. So that's a very prominent county in the Beltway. That came to a dead standstill. People were stuck in the snow in a blizzard for upwards of 13, 14 hours?
Yes.
Anything like that occurs after that 3-day period. You need to be well on your way to where you're going before that 3-day mark sets in. Okay. 3 weeks later, you better have been hunkered down. You need to be where you planned on going 3 weeks before the 3-week mark.
Yes.
What happens next? The 3-week mark is where everybody starts to act on their own. You see lawlessness, general lawlessness in the country. You've seen this in Africa. Again, you've seen it in Eastern Europe. These things have happened in other places. I'm not speaking from inexperience. If you go back in time, a decade ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, you look at how South America was when communism started taking over South America, these things occurred. 3 weeks and everyone has lost their collective mind, and they're doing what they need to do to survive, because guess what? They didn't prepare in advance. So now you're going to have the types of people that take advantage of those that did prepare. They're going to take advantage of people that are good natured and want to believe that everyone is inherently good instead of inherently evil. There are a lot of things that we as a people are going to experience. We think we're very civilized because we're a Western nation, but the fact of the matter is that people become very uncivilized when they don't have their creature comforts.
Yeah, we saw that in Katrina.
100%. Katrina showed us that. Yeah, I mean, God, that's a big one.
Yeah, that, within 24 hours, people started panicking just because of the hurricane and the sheer heat that was involved at that point in time during the year. Then you had 48 hours. By 72 hours, it was complete chaos. We had police officers within that city that basically had abandoned their duties because they had families themselves. It was basic human instinct. By law, they were supposed to sit there and stay and try to support the community, but there was no one to support the police. They had no support structure within themselves. So it just turned into the wild, wild west. But I think there's some of the things we need to think about. Get your family prepared. Hopefully this can it doesn't accelerate too much. But right now we're sitting at a point where markets are just exploding. Some of them are getting shut down. Some trading is getting shut down across various platforms, various industries. So, this is something that you have to be actually having a lot of situation awareness on, not just today, but like every day. You need to be looking to see what's going on, especially in your area and your community. And I think those are some really key points.
With regard to the trading and the skyrocketing prices in the stock market, you talked about wheat the other day and how the price of wheat skyrocketed because Hungary decided they were going to close off all of their international exports, which is very smart. I don't blame Hungary for doing that. Do you?
No, they, that's basically the countries have to take care of themselves. If you
100%.
notice, yeah, and right now, they're not turning on the Keystone Pipeline. We're not even bringing in oil from Canada. So now we're back in the situation where,
And from Russia, Biden just came out and said,
yeah, go ahead.
no, we will no longer be purchasing oil from Russia.
Yeah, so the basic key points here we're trying to say is a lot of this is a kind of a self-inflicted wound that it's in this self-inflicted wound for a lot of people that I've talked to, Dave's talked to, this is not just self-inflicted, but this was planned. And I know that's not what a lot of people might want to hear. I've seen where some people have actually said to me, dude, you got to follow the plan. There is no plan. Anybody who believes in that, listen, I don't know what to tell you. If you're not paying attention to the markets, there's no white hats. There's no people riding in on a white horse that are going to save you or your family. You have to start taking those measures now. You want hope? You want hope? You want to believe in God that nothing's going to happen? No, God gave you the ability to think critically and to start taking the steps to protect yourself. Jesus, when he went into the Temple Mount, didn't throw the table with the priest there because he was being a nice guy. No, he was standing up for the people. You need to start stepping up and using your critical thinking and take the steps right now. And, like I said, we've tried to, we've invested time and effort into trying to get training set up. They try to have some courses online. They're going to be coming online extremely quickly once we finalize our curriculum and we get some dates online. The other thing is we're trying to, give products and keep the margins low so we can help you. So that's just something else. But the big thing, if you take anything from what we're going to say, I don't care where you get anything or get your training, but do something that's going to make a positive impact in your life where you can pass it down possibly to your children. That's going to help them and make them self-sufficient. I mean, we're at a point right now where people are not paying attention. And there's a lot of people like, man, I can't believe gas is going up. It's like, they're in for a rude awakening and a massive shock to the system.
You should have been doing this a long time ago if you haven't already. When it comes down to precious metals and fuel, let's talk about that for a minute. Everybody always wants to know what the best option is for purchasing hard goods, tangible goods, something that you can hold in your hand. That's a currency. That's a form of a currency. Silver is the least on the market, the least volatile metal, precious metal on the market. American silver, Rhodesian silver, or South African silver. You get silver pretty much from any country. There's always a silver mint in place, and you can go out and you can get those things, and those precious metals are going to take the place of the greenback. You have to expect that to occur. Now, as far as gas is concerned, you need to go back to the old concept where you should never allow yourself to get below a half tank. Tactically, operationally speaking, if your truck that you're driving, which is full of your men, your weapons, and your equipment, ends up below a half a tank, and you as the driver allow it to continue on down to a quarter, Murphy's Law dictates that something is going to happen to you and you're going to run out of gas. You won't have the chance to refuel. When you realize you're at a half a tank, do the right thing and go fill up, because you don't know when it is the next time you're going to be able to fill up, or when you might have to go even further without stopping than you previously anticipated.
Yeah, Dave, you brought up a good point talking about Murphy's Law. With what's happening right now, when some people start to dawn on them as gas keeps going up. So for example, I just saw it go up 20 cents since last night, where we're at. That's not including the previous days. So I think we're at 75 cents. It's gone up.
At least.
And that's within the last week.
Diesel and Supreme, or Premium rather, not Supreme, Premium are at the same price.
Yeah. So what we're saying to you is, understand once it starts dawning on people how high prices are going to go, that's when you're going to start seeing shelves start to empty. I've already been in some Walmarts and we saw shelves cleaned out. So for example, and I want to give you a little situation here. If you go into Walmart's, they've got their grocery section is always, there's a lot of people that use Walmart to shop because they had lower prices. There's people that say, you know what, I don't want to shop at Walmart. I just go to the local grocery store. But the local grocery stores usually have pretty good stock. There was some stuff that was missing here and there, things that you can't get. And a lot of it's because of those certain industries, or maybe it was some items that were, manufactured overseas, pastas. And I noticed that, and some other things that were being imported in from like Italy. With that, what you're going to see is Walmart will clean out first. And once Walmart cannot sustain the population that frequents Walmart, then you're going to see those people start filtering in to the regular grocery stores that have the higher prices. Once that happens and you start seeing stuff missing off the shelves there, that's when you know we're in a deep, deep problem and a recession. And I don't even want to say recession, a depression, because this is about the tank. And that's when you're going to see people start to panic and they're going to start trying to buy extra while they can before the price goes up even more.
And economically speaking, when we talk about the grocery shelves emptying out, everybody out of the goodness of their heart wants to reach out and they want to take care of the immigrants that are coming across the border. The folks that have those good-hearted feelings, and that's completely fine. But let me explain to you economically what happens in our nation when we decide to allow 50,000, 100,000, 200, 300,000 new mouths in the span of a few days, in the span of a few weeks, to be systematically relocated to other communities where previously those stores, I'm not sure exactly what the terminology is, but they stock their shelves based on output and based on demand. So when 50,000 more mouths in one day show up in a community that they previously were in, what do you think happens? It overwhelms the market.
The system just can't sustain it.
Correct. The system can't sustain it, which is why you see shelves empty everywhere, especially down here in the Southeast. It's because they've systematically relocated a lot of people into those areas, and they are now overwhelming our infrastructure.
Yeah. So if you're not understanding, obviously you see these things, start getting the staple items that you need, that you're going to be able to sustain yourself. One of the things I would recommend, it's great going to the grocery store, but if you don't have some type of long-term storage items, as far as food, beans, rice, maybe some cans of like potato flakes or something that is in a sealed can, and it is basically for 25 years storage. So that basically what I'm saying is, not saying you're going to use it in 25 years, but it's packed in there and it's vacuum packed to where it will sustain you for a long period of time. If you have to open it eventually and use it, that stuff's good for a while. So there's a lot of companies out there. I think, no, we're not getting paid by them. Was it My Patriot Food Supply? You got August Farms. There's some other places out there. You guys need to reach out and try to get that stuff now while you can, or while they have it, because a lot of those places were drying up. I know August Farms, which I thought was really odd a while back, and I kind of deduced, and I'll tell you that in a second, but they had actually shut down for 3 months because they said they couldn't meet their supply and demand. And then when they opened back up, everybody was able to get their stuff because they said they had to repopulate all the supplies they were trying to get in. My personal belief was there were certain places within the government that were trying to get rations set aside and put aside. Which brings me to my next point, and I'm sure you're going to want to chime in on this, Dave, is China has 50% of the world's wheat right now. And I think it's either 70% of the rice or the soybeans. Here's where I'm going with this. They have set aside for a year to a year and a half to be able to feed their society.
Only their society.
Now think about this. have you heard anything about the US government or any reports about the government's mass purchasing super amounts of food from our farmers, our cattle ranchers, or anything along those lines that can help in the event that they have to feed people? I don't see a lot of that happening. I don't hear about it. And I've inquired quite a few times with, in different industries, and people are saying no. This is something you need to think about. If you think the government is actually going to be able to help you, there's some problems there in that thinking, because I haven't seen it across any industries. And if the government has purchased the food on certain contracts, they're not going to release that information to you probably, because that is going to places where, just in case of a catastrophic situation, we'll just put it that way, there's going to be people, there's going to be the haves and the have-nots. So these are things you need to think about.
Now, it's actually quite the contrary. Our government has started asking American farmers to cull their herds.
Yes.
And they've paid them subsidies not to grow their crops. It's a very strange concept.
Yeah. And so that's a good point, because if we need food and we know that we're having issues getting food out there and the price of food's going up, but they're being paid to cull the herds and basically destroy the herds and get rid of the food to where it doesn't hit your plate or your home, your shopping centers, or your community, but it's actually being destroyed. What's that say to what's going on? If you haven't figured out what's going on with the green agenda, with the fuel, then I just don't know what to tell people. I mean, we're actually at a critical point in the history of the United States where it's a controlled implosion of the economy on purpose.
Great example of this. You don't even have to go and read the book. You can watch the movie Black Hawk Down. In the very beginning, it describes the situation in Somalia in depth, and how the warlord, Mohammed Farah Aidid, basically took over, especially out of Mogadishu, took over the food supply and controlled the food supply. Even what the UN was bringing in, he took it over and he controlled the people through hunger. Now, remember, civil war and famine had hit just about simultaneously in the country. And that's the reason why the US military was sent there to begin with.
Correct.
The Marine Corps was sent there, I believe it was the 2-4MU, I could be wrong, was sent there on a humanitarian assistance disaster relief mission. The Marines ended up in combat during that situation because the warlord's people, his war fighters, did not want American presence there, because we were trying to restore order and bring food and prosperity and everything else that we purport to do back to the Somalian people. And then the Rangers and Delta and SOAR and everybody else showed up, because the mission at that point in time now was to go get Mohammed Farah Aidid. Eventually, I believe we got him. But that situation is an example of what happens when you have a society that is torn apart by civil war, by famine, severe food shortages.
And the food is controlled. The food that is there is actually controlled by the criminals.
Now, remove the war and the famine. What we have going on right now is what's called fourth generation warfare, which is low intensity conflict between political parties. Here in the United States, that is occurring today, right? So now remove war from the equation. How do you control the people? How do you get the people to do exactly what you want them to do? You take their food from them, you take their power, you take their water, basically make them rely upon you for sustainment and for sustenance for your family. That's how they will control the American population. They will take these things away from you, or give it back to you in very small amounts, so that you're always reliant upon that security. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. So you want to jump into, so we're just going to touch on some of the training we're going to be having coming up. And this is more like, in the military, it'd be like, there's going to be a twist to it. It's more of a, you're going to have, obviously we talked about the basic medical training and able to stop the bleed, make sure the person's breathing, and, getting them advanced medical care. But we're also going to have like small unit tactics. And what that's for is for you to protect your neighborhood and your family, that immediate area around you, for when the chaos happens, because law enforcement is going to have a hard time trying to respond to anything at that time. Once society we start seeing collapses where the crime goes up because of all the other things we talked about earlier. Law enforcement is going to have a very hard time trying to keep up with everything. As a matter of fact, they're going to be even more endangered in their job. So these are things that we're coming up with right now. And, there's obviously going to be some solutions that come with that, and some bennies with that training. One of the things I'd like to tell a lot of you is sign up for our newsletter. Go to anchorstrategiesllc.com, sign up for the newsletter. What we're going to be doing and pushing out is obviously the newsletter. We're going to recap things going on, things you need to do. We will even push, hey, I use this product, you might want to use it. A lot of this stuff is going to be stuff that we're not getting paid by those companies or anything like that. But what we're trying to do is tell you, hey, we know for a fact these are great items, and this is what we use. All right. So take that with a grain of salt, and we'll be upfront. We're going to be very transparent about that. If it's something that we've helped design or something that we are marketing out there, we'll let you know. But some of this stuff, we're just trying to tell you, no matter where you get it, and we're going to let you know, go get it. This is something you might want to have if you can afford it. If not, get something similar. As long as you're able to have things that can protect you, keep you fed. What's the other one? Protect you, keep you fed, and give you some shelter. Okay.
Food, fire, and water procurement.
All right. And those are some big things. What else were we going to talk about?
We were going to talk about the American perception of war fighting and the war fighter, and how it relates to the training.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be a key for a lot of people. There's going to be a mentality that's going to have to kick in, and some of this is going to be like in your neighborhood, or if you live out in the country, it's going to be the neighbors, everybody, making sure that people aren't coming in and basically coming in to try to raid the area for food and supplies.
This is the United States is able to tout how many guns every civilian owns, right? And everyone that has taken an extra step further has done so as far as the equipment that they purchase based on their perception of the Special Operations Force soldier, Marine, sailor, or airman in the global war on terrorism. So we're talking about armor and plates and plate carriers and helmets and all of these things that, that people buy because they believe that that's what a warfighter wears. And to their point, that is correct, given certain circumstances. But our biggest concern is that people that do not train with it and that do not condition with it are going to die tired.
Yeah, very much.
We talk about some of the groups of people here in the United States, and I'm not going to name them because I'm not bashing them. I appreciate the fact that they love America to a degree that they are willing to get out in the street with carrying a rifle and a plate carrier with no plates on. And large groups of people, they feel relatively secure. But how much do they really know about the things that they're carrying? When you look at these folks, they're carrying rifles without rear side apertures or optics.
Yeah.
They're wearing plate carriers with no plates in them. And they're doing this because of the image that they want to portray and that they want to emulate. And emulation is one of the finest forms of flattery. However, it doesn't do them any good in the long run. Our idea is to bring you from the ground up. When you talk about the small unit survival course, Doug's talking about that, falls under the category of American internal defense. That's what we're going to call it, AID, American Internal Defense. Our small unit survival course is going to take you from the bottom, from nothing, from scratch, and help you understand basic small unit survival. And when I talk about the small unit, we're talking about what Doug was talking about as far as the family unit, as far as the neighborhood unit. It's every American has the right, the inherent God-given right to self-defense. And there is absolutely nothing that anyone can say to stop people like us from ensuring that you know what you need to know in order to survive. Can you expand any further upon that?
No, yeah, actually, here's the thing, people. When we look to what the future is going to hold, no one actually has that magic wand or the crystal ball, I should say, where they can see what's going to happen. But based on history and what we're seeing around or what we've seen in the world and what's going on now, all the events that are happening, there could come a time where someone tries to come into your house. And if they're not invited, they're not a friend. That's something you need to understand. And I've seen people, well, they were just there to steal. You don't know what they're there for. And if you have a family, you have children, you don't know what their intentions and where they're, you just don't know anything. So you've got to take those steps to protect your family now. And we're, going to have this course. These things will be coming online. It's going to be a total solution, small course that gets you started and gives you a basic foundation with which to work. And we will also have some stuff coming up down the road for other things that can help you out. And we're talking, well, when I say a few more things down the road, that'd be more like an advanced type of training.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But those would be smaller courses. But the basic, the basic course is going to be something for you to get out there and understand what you're wearing, what's the purpose of it, how do you use it? That's going to be the big one. And understanding your firearm, what you can and can't do. You need to know your local laws. There's certain things that you're going to have to understand. And also getting used to wearing the equipment and understanding you might look cool, but over a certain period of time, that stuff wears on you, especially if you're not used to it. Even for guys in the military, when you would wear kit, one of the things people need to understand is it wears on certain parts of your body and it takes your body time to understand it and get the muscle memory of wearing it. And a lot of people are not used to that. And they go into certain types of training where they think, hey, I'm going to run around wearing plate carriers all the time, running through the woods. And maybe, especially in a mountainous area. And guess what? After about 2 hours, you're probably going to be dehydrated. You're going to be extremely exhausted and you've now become a problem.
Not part of the solution.
Yeah, you're not part of the solution. You're part of the problem because now you're a heat casualty or you're so exhausted that you can't function. So those are some of the things we've got coming up.
What are we going to do? You might be asking yourself at this point, yeah, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do, Dave and Doug? Well, the idea behind it is to help you understand that lighter is better. Lighter is better. There are those of you out there that absolutely have the time and the experience. Infantrymen, soft guys, combat arms, any kind of combat arms or direct support. You've thrown that kit on and you've gone up into the mountains of Afghanistan. You've thrown that kit on and you've gone miles and miles through the Triangle of Death, through Al Anbar province. You've been in those places and you've done those things. Some of you have been in the jungles of Okinawa and you've rolled around with 150-pound rucksacks, falling off of cliffs. It's awful. Yeah. You've done it. You know exactly what we're talking about. Look back in history. Look at those boys in Rhodesia. What did they have? They had a 7.62 rifle. They had a chest rack. They had a great pair of shorts, a great pair of boots, and a floppy boonie hat. And that's what they really needed.
And they moved very quickly and they were very efficient.
Very efficient and very quick. Small unit maneuvers absolutely require you to be as fast and as agile as possible.
Absolutely correct. So anyways, like I said, sign up for the newsletter. You can go to anchorstrategiesllc.com. If you want to hit the shop, just hit the shop. You can see some of the items we've got up there now. We've got some more stuff coming to help people understand. And a lot of this stuff, like I said, we're keeping the margins down. But the big thing is sign up for the newsletter so you can kind of keep updated. And we're going to try to keep also posting videos. And here's the other thing, try to give us some feedback. Let us know if there's some topics you want to talk about. Maybe if we can, maybe we'll do a live chat where we'll have the chat room open and you guys can ask questions and we can try to answer some of your questions for you. So yeah, definitely let us know. Try to give us some feedback if you can. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button and let us know. You guys take care and we'll talk to you later.